someone that I've grown very close to over the last few months who's going to open this conference and is part of our brave and bold mantra. I want to bring to the stage someone who we first met and we got on really, really well, and we've since had lots of great conversations, and I think you're going to be wowed by her on this stage. I'm hoping she doesn't fall off. I'm not going to give away any more than that, but please welcome to the stage my friend and our opening keynote speaker, Caroline Casey.
Mike, okay. First of all, you came to the inclusion session. For those of you, this room is nearly full, so can I just say a huge big thank you to all of you. And you have no idea the importance of this session to me and to 1 billion people. And I just want to take a moment to genuinely thank you. This is the little wobble in my throat, is how grateful that I am that there is a room of people like you here to have a conversation like this today. Be fearless, be brave, be bold, love yourself. I couldn't love that idea more than anything. It's about everything that I am about. But first, I want to tell you why I'm wearing this ridiculous yellow t-shirt. Okay, well, first of all, I bought it yesterday when I was wandering around Rome. Second of all, I couldn't be bothered to iron my black shirt, which I was supposed to do this morning. But the reason I'm wearing this, it says super, is because there's absolutely no way somebody like me talking about what I'm going to talk about would ever have been invited onto a stage like this 2 years ago. And the second reason I'm wearing super is I'm in the middle of a global world call to action to business leaders. This month, last year, everybody told me I was crazy, I was to give up, and I was to walk away. And so I guess I feel like being bold and fearless and brave and saying, it's flippin' super that I'm still here. And I didn't give up and I didn't give in. And what I want to say is that kind of stuff happens. The reason inclusion is here is for the amazing commitment of you guys in the team, but Sam Phillips, who I'll be talking to later. And I just got to say, this is leadership. This is leadership. And what I'm asking you guys to do today is I'm going to tell you 3 things. I'm going to give you some data and stats because we love all that shite. I'm going to tell you a story because stories are always good, especially in the morning for those of you with a hangover. And then I'm going to give you a wild card challenge. And it's strange to be standing on a stage, a catwalk or otherwise. I was never going to be a model, but this is my day today. And I wish there was some music so I could shimmy around and have my own little dance floor. I'm a blow-in. I'm not in your industry, but I really need you. And there are moments like this when you're standing on a stage, you're going, what am I doing here? Like, seriously? But when you're in the middle of doing a global history-making campaign, you will stand on any stage. You will talk to anybody. The campaign that I'm in the middle of doing was launched in August last year. It's called #Valuable. It's a worldwide call to action for business to recognize the value and the worth of the 1 billion people living in the world with a disability, and to position this equally on the global business leadership agenda. We fundamentally believe that business is the most powerful force on the planet, and media within business is the most powerful. If business is inclusive of the 1 billion people and their families who have a disability, which is worth 8 trillion, then society will be inclusive. If business excludes, society excludes. So Valuable's call to action is, I don't need your pity, we don't need charity, we don't need inspiration porn. We're worth 8 trillion. Recognize our value and worth across the full supply chain. And Valuable's call to action was we wanted to find 5 Sheryl Sandbergs or Paul Polmans to lead that change. We wanted to find 20 next generation leaders. They are our allies because that young generation believe in inclusion and belonging in a way that has never been done before. And they're using their consumer spending power and their career choices to make that known. So we wanted 5 big ones, 20 younger ones. We wanted 500 companies to put disability on their board agenda once. We want those leaders to make sure that happens. And then we wanted to be really cheeky. We want this main stage Davos in 2019. Disability, business leadership, really? You think I'm crazy? And that's why I'll stand on any stage that I will have. It's sort of like pole dancing for a living. It's okay, you can laugh. So, why do I care about this so much? Well, I care about it because of a man called Jerry Casey, who's my father. The reason I'm standing here is because of him. The reason that I took on this global call to action last year, despite the worst year of my life, was because of him. It reminds us that we're not just driven by stats, but we're also driven by our hearts. But my dad very unexpectedly died. He just pushed out of the world. He was a 6'6" man, hands the size of shovels, feet that were size 15, really big man. And what he had always said to me is, be yourself. That's all I ever ask of you, Caroline. Be yourself. Don't be small and don't try and fit in to be anybody else. Just be yourself. And 4 days before he died, he was still very strong before he died. I remember him yanking me into him in all his bigness. And he says, what are you waiting for to launch this campaign that you've dreamed of all your life? He said, are you frightened what people are going to think? Are you frightened about failing? Sure, listen, you've done a million things. Why be scared? Don't wait. And so 6 weeks after he died, I found the courage. I think in grief, you sometimes can find an engine that pushes you forward. But it wasn't just his death that is the reason I'm here. He's actually the reason that I am here with my mom, because they had a very, very unusual way of bringing up a child. At 17 years old, I had these crazy dreams like I wanted to be Mowgli from the Jungle Book. I wanted to race cars and motorbikes. I wanted to be a cowgirl. And for those of you who are parents, they're not exceptionally good career choices for a 17-year-old. And on that 17th birthday, my dad, knowing those dreams, which are really about freedom, really about free to be who you are, he gave me a driving lesson so that I could race that car or that motorbike. But the thing is, on my 17th birthday, when I was holding that driving lesson in my hands, I found out that I would never actually get to drive, well, legally, a motorbike or car, because I am registered blind. And I know that you're looking at me going, and if any of you have Googled me, you'll see the blind, blonde elephant girl. But the thing is, I am registered blind. I don't look it, and I know when I'm walking around in heels, the first thing most people say to me is, well, how do you wear heels? Because you're blind. And I'm like, it makes my ass look better. It doesn't matter, I will wear heels. It means I can't see any of you, but I can smell you and I can hear you. That's no problem. Beyond, it used to be this. I could see nothing. Now, as I'm getting older, it's here. Within 2 feet, it's a blur. Everything is a blur. It means that I don't need to get Botox. I just stand 3 feet away from the mirror. I am forever 21. It also means, for some bizarre reason, I end up in the gents' toilets more than the ladies' toilets because that triangle is getting smaller with design. It's really scary, but I have nothing wrong with my sense of smell. I have really bad balance as well. That's the other thing that's rubbish. And I know that you probably don't believe me because I'm moving around, and that's part of how I was brought up, because I didn't know that I was registered blind. I had absolutely no idea. But I do have a white cane, and it is in my bag. And I will be using that to skip the queue in the airport when I leave tomorrow. You have got to use it to your own advantage. You know, might as well gild the lily. However, how the hell did I get to 17? Was it an accident? No, it was not an accident. My extraordinarily crazy parents, led by my father, who loves Johnny Cash, the song A Boy Named Sue, you know, life is tough, bring them up rough. Yeah, that's me. So they decided when they were just, when she's going to go to school, and they didn't want me to go to a disabled school because they felt the limits that are going to be on me would be by a label of disability. And they didn't want it for me. They wanted me to be as big and as stretched as far as I could. And so we have a mantra in our house. Labels are for jam jars. I'd like to say Smirnoff nicked it and put it on one of their ads and said, labels are for packages, not people. There's something going on right now, right? So when that went on, I went into school. So they decided to send me to a normal school, not a visually impaired school, gave me a fake pair of glasses, and off I went thinking I could see the world. And I thought I could. And can I just tell you, I was rubbish at sports. Anything with a ball. Couldn't absolutely see it. That stupid expression, keep your eye on the ball. Ridiculous. Every boy I kissed, I thought was absolutely the best looking boy I ever seen. As I always say, where's there a man? You're a man. You look like George Clooney. He's not even looking at me. I've just told you look like George Clooney and you're not even smiling. So that's how my life worked. It was crazy life. And so when I got to 17, and I really can tell you, I don't see very well. And I can give you the jokes and I can give you the laughs, but when I found out at 17 that I had this label, you have a disability, which means that you won't be able to do A, B, C, D, E, I said, no, thank you very much. I don't want that. And so either it's pure obstinance or maybe it's motivation. I have no idea. But I decided to hide it from the rest of the world because I was just about to go to university. I wanted a life. I wanted to go into business. I wanted a career. And so I hid it for 11 years. Very successfully. I even went and held a position in Accenture as a management consultant. I don't know what that means about management consultancy, that they didn't cop that I was blind, but there you go. I go in there. They don't know that I can't see. I also have had various different careers before I get into Accenture. Like I chose to be an archaeologist. Why would a blind person choose to be an archaeologist? I don't know. But it just shows that there was this sort of sense of wanting to be out and to be free. And so I go into Accenture. I'm with them 2.5 years. My eyes start to fail because I wasn't asking for help. I simply didn't turn around and say, listen, I just need some help. The reason Accenture had never copped that I was visually impaired or blind is because they had looked at my results, which were first-class honours masters. They never looked at a box that had a little grey tick to say that I couldn't see very well. So I'm with them 2.5 years and my eyes are failing and I now genuinely need to do something about this. And if you think about it, I was pretending to be somebody that I wasn't. And you know what? Every one of you know what that feels like. You've all got up this morning, come out of your hotel rooms, hungover or not, and you put your best face on. We all do it. And that's because we want to belong and feel accepted. We're in the era of business for belonging. Belonging is business. It's where our brands are really resonating with people is I am welcome. I am welcome. I am seen to be who I am. But we all want to belong. And so I had hidden my sight because I was so worried if you thought I was visually impaired or registered blind, you wouldn't want to employ me. You wouldn't want to give me a job and you wouldn't want to have crack with me. You wouldn't want to kiss me. So it's like I didn't want your sympathy. But in 2.5 years, I had to deal with it because I was in so much pain. And so I went in to see the HR manager of Accenture and I said, we need to have a conversation. And she goes, okay. I said, the thing is, I don't really see you right now. And she said, it's okay, we can reschedule. And I said, no, I can't see you right now. And at 28 years old, I came out of the closet. And I came out of the closet in a very unceremonial way. I smashed into the world of disability very fast. And it was a real time of wondering who I am and what is my identity. You know that thing you're not defined by what you do, but who you are? Well, that's all great as a cliche, but it's very difficult to live. We all buy into our titles and how successful we are. What is success? I was 28 years old, and I actually saw this badge of blindness, meaning that I would never be or amount to very much. So Accenture sent me off to see an eye doctor. The eye doctor brought me in. He didn't even look at my eyes. He just told me, listen, go get yourself a white stick and get over it. There is no operations for you. The problem is the way you think about it. And he asked me a really important question. What did I want to be when I was little? And what were my dreams? And they were dreams about freedom. And I wasn't free anymore because I was so busy trying to be somebody else so I could fit in. I left his office, and it was that day that I left his office, I went running for a big, long run down this place in Dublin called Sandymount Strand. I have run there all my life. By the way, I now run with a sighted guide, but then I didn't. And I fell on top of a rock, and it's a very well-known expression. I call it snot rock. And the reason it's snot rock, I fell, and I didn't know how to get off this rock, and there was blood, snot, tears, everything. And it was Wednesday, and it was raining in March. But I did get off that rock. And the reason I got off that rock was because I was kind of worried that my dad might see me and kick my ass. But secondly, was as much as to say, is if I don't get off this rock and take responsibility for my own life, then there's really no point. And I did get off that rock, and 8 months after I got off that rock, I fulfilled my very first childhood dream, which was to become Mowgli from the Jungle Book. And I trekked 1,000 kilometers across India, became an elephant handler, and because I'm Irish, Catholic, and guilty, because we always are, I had to do it for charity, and so we raised enough money to give 6,000 people a cataract operation so they'd see again. Because I can tell you something, being disabled in a developed world is one thing, but being disabled in a developing world is a whole other ballgame. But that is what spiraled my obsession with the work I do today, is what led to Valuable. It's why I stand on this stage, even though I probably have no right to be here. What my obsession was about changing the narrative around disability. I had this disability, my own vanity, and I was like, well, why? Why? Disability is only one tiny little part of me. It doesn't define me. No medical condition should define anyone. But I was obsessed with the way the media had represented us. You either were like the super quick, no arms, no legs, running up Mount Everest. And I went into that too, because I was a blind girl going across India in an elephant. And believe me, Irish, blonde and blind going across India in an elephant, you get a platform. So the second thing was, or it was like, oh, you poor, poor thing. So it was like super inspirational or super sad. And yet there's a whole load of people just in the middle. Or even if we think about movies, all the criminals are freaks. James Bond movies, every single one of them had some form of a disability. The Da Vinci Code, he's albino, I'm albino. So I was obsessed as how can we change the narrative to see us as human beings first? And then the second obsession came is, where's business in this conversation? Because it was the time that green was happening. And I actually started to see it's not charity that's going to fix the exclusion of people with disability. 50% more likely to experience poverty, 50% more likely not to get a job, but business can. You guys can, media and business, if you can make money. Well, I'm here to tell you, for 18 years we have worked with business. We've won awards in Davos and Clinton Global Initiatives. We've done it everywhere. We've been around the world, won awards, we're fantastic. Making this case. And the critical success factors for us and our success was grounding this in the business case across the supply chain. We are customers, your employers. We are also suppliers. We are your talent. But the thing is, this is not just we, this is we. In this room, in 5 years, 10% of you are going to acquire a disability. Of the 1 billion people in the world with disability, 80%, that's 80 million between the ages of 18 and 64. Everyone with a disability has at least 2 people that love them, I hope, which means it touches 45% of our global population. Lads, this is a conversation we need to be having. It's a business opportunity that is shrieking at you. We don't need the pity. What we need is to do business with you. We are not all the same. It's the only of the intersectional issues that exist. Every one of you will touch disability at some point in your life. But let's not feel sad about it, because it's actually the opportunity to exist. So my challenge is, having done all this work for a very long time, we were seeing that great leadership. So if we were seeing the heads of Telefonica, for example, when they led, the company changed. When we campaigned and we told stories, things happened. When we used our heads and our hearts, when we used great media, things shifted. And then in 2010, Sheryl Sandberg and I were at the same event, and I remember she was talking about leaning in. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Give me a break. It's not like that we didn't talk about gender before Sheryl Sandberg came in, but when a leader and a brand came, wow, magic shit happened. And so that's what I wanted for Valuable. I want to challenge all of you to think, this could be the new green, guys, because this affects 50% of our population. So I've told you the story. I've given you the stats. So what's the wild card challenge? My wildcard challenge to you is, you're some of the most interesting minds, and you are. I'm not blowing wind up your ass. You genuinely are. How would you rebrand this 1 billion to business? How would you do it? Did you know the remote control was designed for blind people? I think that's hilarious, because I can't see a TV, but there you go. Universal design. Apple is the company in the world who's done universal design better than anyone. This is the zeitgeist opportunity right now for the belonging era. There's an inclusion revolution happening. And it's not just because I'm the crazy Irish girl in the yellow t-shirt that's telling you this. This is about to happen. On the front of the Business of Fashion magazine this month, along with Kim Kardashian, is a wonderful woman called Sinead Burke, a friend of mine. Look at it. It's coming. Digital inclusion. We're living longer. We're not dying when we're born. The voices of that 1 billion are starting to come out. Didn't Darwin say it? It's not the survival of the fittest or the strongest that are going to matter. It's those who can deal with change. Believe me, when you've got a disability, you know how to deal with change. That's what I'm saying. You take out the white stick when you need to go there. This is genuinely the next big thing that's coming. Because in a world that is aching to know what belonging is, if we get disability right, we get difference right. So I'm looking at all of you going, what role would you play? You don't need to feel shame or bad. This is not even about employment. It's looking at a community and a market that has an exponential effect on your bottom line. Look at what Channel 4 have done. Look at somebody like Sam Phillips and what she's doing. I can give you Barclays Bank, Microsoft, they're starting now to vie, but no big global brand has said, this is my thing. This is my business. And all we need is a few. So when I did the global campaign, launched in August, when everybody said you can't do it, I swear to God, I had no money. And Reid Hoffman, founder of LinkedIn, 4 hours before my board pulled the campaign, put $250,000 in my account. He said, you have to try. You don't get to give up just because it gets hard. So I stood on the main stage of One Young World in Bogota, in Colombia, after riding literally 1,000 kilometers on a horse to make a point. Second dream achieved. I stood on that stage and I gave the call to action, 5 Paul Polmans and Sheryl Sandbergs, 20 young leaders, Davos, 500 companies. And Cher was due to get on after me. Now, Cher's people are tricky. And I just said, I've ridden 1,000 kilometers, I'm not getting off this stage. And I knew there was really important people in the room. So I stood as bold as brass and took the greatest career risk of my life and said, I'm tired of you telling me you care if there's one leader who will stand to lead with us to make this happen. 12 people stood on the stage, leaders. One of them was Paul Polman of Unilever. It's good, because what Paul Polman has done, and Sam, I know you're coming, what Paul Polman has done has sparked a new light. We are filling the 4 other seats. I have another one, but I'm not allowed to make the announcement. And we are moving towards that stage of actually putting disability on the main stage of Davos, changing the narrative. I ask for your help in how that we can do that. The wild card is, who's going to be the early adopter? Who's going to be the lagger? And as Sam's coming onto the stage to have a conversation with me, I just want to say there's one thing that I have really learned about business. It's who is in the car with you, who's in the bus, who's around you. And the other thing is you never, ever, 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 ever give up. Because I told you I achieved Mowgli from the Jungle Book. I became a cowgirl, but I also got to race cars and motorbikes. And how that happened was I did an adventure called Around the World in 80 Ways in 2002, when these people had heard about this crazy Irish girl who was done on elephants. And I was asked to go around the world with a man who was blind, a man who had lost his legs and was paralyzed from under the nipples down for 3 months, 80 modes of transport, raising $1 million around the world. I couldn't offer it up. They gave us 2 people to help the disabled people, one from Rolls-Royce, who admitted 2 weeks out of the journey he was deaf, and we had a cameraman with a glass eye. So we get to Malaysia, and everybody knows I want to race a car. And because of my initially, this story is important because they love their cars. So the Malaysians had the first blind against blind race ever on the Malaysian Grand Prix track. Miles is the blind guy. He gets in the car with a deaf man as his eyes. The guy with the no legs, paralyzed from just under the chest down, he offers to be my sighted guy because he's nothing else to lose. He's 168% disabled if I crash. And here's the story, guys. We are on the start line. I am like so beyond excited. Malaysian media. Whew, a flag goes down. What is wrong with that story? 2 things. There are blind drivers in the car. They can't see flags. And secondly, who the hell is sitting in the car with me and are they awake? So when they cocked it, they put a good old horn, 192 kilometers, 5 laps around the Malaysian Grand Prix track. And the reason I tell that story is there's many ways to skin a cat, but the most important thing for you guys is, are we noticing the opportunity that is right under our noses now? Early adopter, lagger. Your choice. Thank you.